what Lou has been preaching all year and why we got that win. 35 minutes and 36 seconds leading time of possession by almost 10 minutes.
And that's why you didn't see George Pickens on the field more than 70% or 70% of the plays. Told you they want to control the ball. You control the ball by running, which means you got to go the personnel to run the ball. They went some 2 tight, 3 tight, and that's going to take the receivers off the field.
Welcome to Six Rings and Counting. I'm your host, Corey Idle. Sitting next to me, somewhere around here, I don't know what side you're on. I don't math. My man, Lou Willard. We have so much to get into. I'm skipping the formalities today. I apologize, Dr. Willard, but we got a lot to cover with this game. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing today?
We're 1-0, top of the division. I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, that you sound like Tomlin now. And they said, what'd you think of Arthur Smith's performance and his offensive performance today? He said, we want to know. Like, well, man, that ain't what they asked you, though.
Yeah, I'm not about to talk about I'm going to have a different answer when it comes to Arthur Smith. And we will get into that real quick. We're going to bust out these stats for you just to let you know how we did. Justin Fields, 17 of 23 passing, 156 yards, 14 rushes for 57 yards. Najee led the team. Surprisingly, overwhelmingly, 20 carries, 70 yards. Notice I haven't said anybody had a touchdown yet. George Pickens, 6 catches on 7 targets, 85 yards. He looked fantastic for the 68% of the offensive plays he was on the field for. Arthur Smith. Defensive side of the ball. Oh my gosh, did we ball out. Micah Fitzpatrick led the team, 6 tackles. Watson Adams had 1 sack each. Our new guys, Elliott and Johnson, Deshaun and Deontay had 1 pick each. Made Kirk Cousins look like a fool all day. Team stats, 16 first downs, 8 of 17 on third down. That needs to come up. On 66 total plays, worst stat of the game, 9 penalties for 60 yards. Boys, we are not Las Vegas. We are not Oakland. We are not Raiders. Shape
and
up.
Some of those are bad though. I mean, but you can't leave it in the referee's hands. But some of that 9, they probably had a legitimate 5 or 6, which is still too many.
That is not Steelers football. But what is, and what Lou has been preaching all year, and why we got that win, 35 minutes and 36 seconds leading time of possession by almost 10 minutes.
And that's why you didn't see George Pickens on the field more than 70% of the plays. Told you they want to control the ball. You control the ball by running, which means you got to go the personnel to run the ball. They went some 2 tight, 3 tight, and that's going to take the receivers off the field. And it gives him a break. It's game 1, so it's obviously overreaction week. Everybody played 1 game. I mean, you got a team that was expected to lose going in there. You were underdogs, expected to lose. Go in there and pretty much dominate the game outside of getting in your own way. And the fan base is still complaining. I mean, imagine if you didn't have a good kicker.
Oh, my gosh. And, let's not forget what Chris did for us. 6 of 6 of field goals, long of 57.
Yeah, 3 over 50. Yeah. So imagine if you didn't have that. I mean, so I say it all the time. I mean, I understand we all expect to win. I've been a Steeler fan my entire life. You expect to win. But, man, you got to realize how hard it is to win, too. That was not a bad football team. It really wasn't. Atlanta's going to be good. They'll win 9 or 10 games. The issue with them was we knew where the quarterback was going to be. We said it on the show last week. We knew where he was going to be, and he was there. And we got to him. He could not move. I'm not sure he's fully healed from his Achilles because he couldn't move. And I told you,
old.
and what I tell you about Drake London? 2 catches, 15 yards. Didn't I say Darnell Mooney would have more yards? I wasn't right, but he had 15 yards on 1 catch.
Yep.
His average was higher.
No, our pass rush looked fantastic. Are there things to be concerned about? Yes.
Yeah, Patrick Queen had 2 tackles. He's a middle linebacker.
Yep, exactly.
That number's got to come up. But the DBs look really good.
That being said, we looked like I would expect a Pittsburgh Steelers football team to look. We dominated rushing yards or rushing attempts with Najee, power running game. Here's my one worry, okay? And we'll get to this. I alluded to it earlier. Arthur Smith notoriously did not use his stars in Atlanta. He wanted to keep the defense off balance, right? That was always his excuse. Didn't use Bijan, didn't use Kyle Pitts, didn't use Drake London. Whatever you think about Drake London, he's your number one receiver. Fine. We come into this game. Cordarrelle Patterson's getting carries. I don't like that in a tight game. Now, we could say whatever we want. I know there are excuses, but with his history, when you start to see this, when you start to see your number one receiver, we're saying if you don't have George Pickens getting 18 targets, you're a fool. What are you doing? George Pickens was off the field 32% of the offensive plays, regardless of what the scheme is. If you want trickeration and to keep the defense off their heels, your number one receiver needs to be on the field. And if he can't block, somebody needs to teach that man how to block.
Yeah, absolutely. He needs to be on the field. I didn't mind Cordell getting the carries because Warren's still coming back from the hamstring. So I understood that. Plus the man, he's big and he runs hard. Mm-hmm. And I don't care. They'll never come out and say it, but there was some revenge game in there. They wanted him to get a little bit of piece of the team he left. That played in it as well. This week in Denver, I guarantee you'll see more Jaylen Warren because of the altitude. That 5280, that mile high is for real. I've been out there. It is no joke. And I'm telling you, so you're going to this week you'll see less of Najee. And it's not because we're not running the ball, because we'll get to that game, but you'll see more Jaylen Warren just because they got to spread it out. I mean, you're going to see more guys on the defensive side of the ball. So it's going to be another situation in that game. It's going to look a lot like this one, except now you got to put the ball in the end zone 2 or 3 times on Denver, and it's over. It's going to be over. But this game played out. When you go back and look at last week's show and what we talked about, it played out pretty much exactly like almost to a T on the defensive side of the ball. And then offensively, the big change is when we recorded, who knew Russell Wilson wasn't going to play? And still got it almost right. I said Najee for 75, he had 70. Said Pickens need the targets. Pickens didn't get all the targets, but they utilized him. When they did throw it deep, it went to him.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't even do that last year. We didn't even throw it deep last year. So at least they're chunking it out to him. And I feel like when he finally let Justin Fields had to shake the nerves. I mean, I get it. It was his 4th year. What's he nervous for? First off, you're nervous before every game. Everybody is. But then he's with a new team. He's trying to prove himself. And by the way, he grew up 25 miles from that stadium they played in. Had a ton of family and friends there. Fumbles the first snap. And I said, oh, boy, kick it, kid. Come on. I'm your biggest fan right here, right now. I'm pulling for you. But you got to kick out on the 2 count. And he settled down, got himself back together. And when they opened it up, he looked good. You seen some, like Tomlin said, they said, you guys ran a lot of RPOs. He said, that's why I love the next gen stat stuff. He said, we didn't run that many RPOs. He said, that's just our quarterback carrying out his fake.
Yep.
Because that's what we tell him to do. He did his job. So y'all think it's an RPO. He said they were not RPOs. But when they did turn him loose, I thought he looked pretty decent. And now he's going to get another shot this week.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what he does this week. I think it was a perfect segue, by the way, by you. Congratulations on getting us into the Denver game. I think this week, one of the interesting matchups is going to be Patrick Surtain and George Pickens, regardless of who our quarterback is. That matchup is going to be big. I look for Pat Freiermuth to have a huge game. And I look for our defense, like you said earlier. We're going to do a lot of what we did to Atlanta. We're going to pressure Bo Nix. Denver's running game is nothing like Atlanta's. They do not have a Bijan Robinson. We're going to be able to really focus pressure on the quarterback. And I think based on what I saw of Denver playing in Seattle, this is going to be a rough week for Denver.
I mean, first off, they're coming in with a rookie quarterback. Dude threw for, I think it was 26 or 42, 138, somewhere in there. He threw 2 picks, and he did all that dinking and dunking. He still threw 2 picks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he did show his legs. He ran 5 times for 35 yards and a touchdown. Problem was he was their leading rusher. That's not going to get it against Pittsburgh. And with Pittsburgh's pass rush, expect more of the same out of their offense. A bunch of dinking and dunking. But again, their receiving core may be worse than Pittsburgh's on paper. Pittsburgh, we still don't know what Pittsburgh's is going to be. You may get Roman Wilson back this week, which would be a huge help because he was supposed to be the 2, and Jefferson and Austin was supposed to be fighting for the 3rd spot. And by the way, Calvin Austin had some nice returns in that game too.
Yes, he did.
But going into Denver, their offense, nothing really scares you. They have Cortland Sutton, yes, and he is a very good player. But it's just going to be one-on-one with JPJ, just like Surtain is guarding Pickens. And now these other 2 guys that we brought in, Elliott and Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Man, them dudes balled out in Atlanta.
Yes, they did.
So if you can get that same type of performance out of your corners in Denver, Pittsburgh's going to go, 2-0 unless they self-destruct. I mean, this defense held Atlanta's starting wide receivers, their top 2 wide receivers, to 3 catches for 30 yards in an NFL game. Now, part of that too is they are good, but part of that too is Kirk Cousins can't move. The Eagles are going to eat him up Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
But going out there now, Bo Nix struggled in a hostile environment, albeit in Seattle, which you and I talked about on Sunday, what that game was going to be. And that's what that game was. So you think he struggled against that defense, which is just average? He's dealing with a top 5 defense now with arguably the best, defensive pass rusher in the NFL and another top 10 pass rusher on the other side.
Yeah. I think it's hard to argue against what TJ Watt is already this season. That dude's motor was I've rarely seen a defensive player like that since Lawrence Taylor just dominate.
I didn't watch every game, but I watched probably four or 5 of them. I watched the whole Denver-Seattle game because, they're playing. Yeah. And I'm telling you, he was the best defensive player I've seen. And yes, I did watch the Browns and Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
And he was better than Michael Parsons, and he was better than Myles Garrett. Just didn't have a great game. The Browns didn't. They looked terrible. But nonetheless, Bo Nix is going to catch hell. Sean Payton's going to do everything he can to try to protect them. So therefore, look for them to try to run the ball, 35 times and dink and dunk. I'll be shocked if they throw the ball more than 20 yards down the field more than twice. I mean, it would just blow my mind because I don't think he's going to have that time. Because he has to drop back and has to have the time to let the guys get down there in order to do that. So by the time, I put it like this, as long as the game is still close, I don't see them doing that. If Pittsburgh jumps up, 14, 17, nothing, something like that, which I would love to see for once in my life, then they'll start slinging it around and just take their chances with him back there getting hit.
What do you see offensive side of the ball realistically here for us? We talked about the altitude. Denver's defense isn't bad. They just are on the field way too much.
And that's going to be the case again this week. That defense is going to be worn down, and their defense can't stop the run though. Before they were on the field in Seattle the whole game, they got their 2 safeties because Seattle couldn't get out their own way. Those were 2 of the worst. I'm like, what are you guys doing? But they figured it out. But Seattle still ran the ball on them for 147 yards or something like that. Or, they ran for well over 100. Pittsburgh ran for well over 100 on what I think is a better defense. On the road.
100%.
On the road ran for it. Denver's defense was on the road as well. I understand that. But I still don't think their defense is as strong as Atlanta's will end up being. And I think Pittsburgh's going to control that clock. We know what we're going to try to do. What I would like to see instead of 6 field goals, okay, let's work on this. Give me 4 field goals and 2 touchdowns. Because they moved the ball. And then, that stuff in the red zone was self-inflicted. Like you just botch a 4th and 1, don't even get close. I feel like they should have turned it around and handed it to him. Hand it to Najee. He was running the ball well. We went with a quarterback sneak when nobody was lined up, and dude jumped over the line and just landed on Justin Fields' back. He can't carry him. But so they should have took their chances, call a timeout if you need to. But if you score a touchdown there, game's on ice because that last kick may put them up by 8. So if they go up, 22-10, there's not even enough time for them to come down and get 2 touchdowns.
No. Let's talk about this a little bit more because this is obviously going to be what dominates Pittsburgh news is the lack of touchdowns. Right. You got to score touchdowns in this league. Yeah, a lot of it was self-inflicted. A lot of it was just not great play calling, not great execution down in the red zone when we had the opportunities. How do we overcome that? What needs to really happen here? Do we need to settle in a little bit? Is it first game nerves? Because let's face facts. This week, there was a lot of bad football played around the league.
Oh, yeah, some of the games was dreadful.
It is horrible. So I'm starting to consider week 1 in the NFL to be the 4th preseason game. Your starters are getting used to everything, playing together, real speed, yada, yada. So
yeah.
Do we just chalk week 1 up to we played a good defense, we had a surprise quarterback change, offense is getting used to each other still? And now week 2, we look for improvement on everything on the offensive side, or are we still going to see a lot of struggling?
No, you better see some improvement. And no, we're not chalking it up to week 1. If you can move the ball down the field the way that they did, you got to put it in the end zone. I mean, three of those field goals that he had could have been touchdowns. Now, when you start kicking 50s, you just got close enough to score. Okay, good drive. But when you get down there and you're kicking 30-something yard field goals, I mean, man, you got to go ahead and get another first down and put the ball in the end zone. And that's what they didn't do. So it's got to be better execution. And they have to open up the playbook way earlier in the game than what they did.
Which was something you talked about.
We watched this the last couple of years with Matt Canada. We're going to run it. We're going to run it. Oh, everybody in the building know he got to throw it now. Well, you don't have the quarterback when everybody know he got to throw, he can go back there and do it. He doesn't have the weapons unless he goes to George Pickens, where you got a legit chance when everybody know you throwing. Throw him the ball and he has a 50-50 chance of getting it. Yep. Everybody else's odds drop in an obvious situation like that. So do a little play action on first down. I don't care if he throw it 4 yards. It's 2nd and 6.
Just something different. Anything.
Something different. Slow them from. They just make them back up a little bit. Slow everything down. Keep them on their heels a little bit. In the first beginning of that game, first part of that game, that's all you saw. This week, you need to see Pittsburgh's going to pound the ball. That's they've already said it. They're going to pound the ball. Denver struggled to stop the run against, an offensive. I think Najee, you could argue he's better than Kenneth Walker. You could say Kenneth Walker's better than Najee. I don't think there's that much separation in them. Kenneth Walker's faster than Najee, but I don't think there's that much separation. But Pittsburgh has more running backs to throw at Denver's defense than Seattle did. Pittsburgh's going to lean on them. Pittsburgh has bigger tight ends, so they're going to try to wear them down with a little play action. Each team wants to keep the other team's defense on the field as long as they can in that altitude. You're going to see some guys on the sideline getting oxygen this weekend. You really are. And one thing I look forward to, we lost our punter. The punter that's back with us has been on the practice squad. He's going to have a good game. Because if we can keep them pinned down and if we don't turn it over, keep them pinned down, starting inside their 20 or inside their 30, 25 yard line back there, make Bo Nix go the length of the field. I don't care what rookie it is. Make him go the length of the field as a quarterback. The 100%. Longer you make them drive, the more chance they have of making a mistake. And, it's real simple.
With Denver's offensive line, it's not great. Not great by any stretch of the imagination. With their offensive line, do you have to stack the box quite as much, or will you, to confuse or scare Bo Nix more, or are you just going to drop guys back in coverage and really confuse him with zones and make him make these reads in open space?
What I think they're going to try to do is make him think as much as possible, because again, we all know he's a rookie. So Pittsburgh's going to try to confuse him. They're going to show their playing zone, and he's going to catch a blitz. They're going to show that they're blitzing, and then they'll blitz. So he won't know what's coming. They'll show different formations. they'll play different packages and run the same defense out of two different packages. So he's not really going to know what's going on. But all that's predicated on Pittsburgh being able to stop Javonte Williams with a 4-man front. You know, and if you heard Mike Tomlin talk about last week, Kirk Cousins kills people when they play a 5-man front. Pittsburgh switched to a 4-man front, and it messed him up. It just messed him up the whole game. And so they're going to have to figure out what Bo Nix's weak spots are. And they have 42 opportunities in the passing game because he threw it 42 times, albeit his average depth of target was 6 yards, something like that. I mean, it was low. It wasn't long at all. And he's still prone to turn the ball over. So they're going to have to confuse the young man. First and foremost, you're going to have to show right in the first quarter you can stop the run, which they should be able to do. But my man Patrick Queen has got to show up this week. 2 tackles is not going to get it. And when I saw the green dot on his helmet, first thing crossed my mind, when he went to Baltimore, he had the green dot and he struggled. Then they got Roquan, gave Roquan the green dot. Patrick Queen is the reason we gave him $41 million or $42 million.
Right.
You might have to put that dot on Elandon Roberts. But the issue is he comes off the field with Wilson. They switch in and out. You can't do that. Whoever has the dot has to stay on the field. And that's Queen. So he's got to step his game up. And we need 8 to 10 tackles out this dude.
Yes.
He at least, I'm not saying solos, but I need you in the play. There's no way he should only have 2 tackles in that game. As much as B. John ran that ball, no way he should only have 2 tackles. And he knows it. He knows it. So he'll get it together.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's what we're talking about, being involved in the play. When we're talking about TJ Watt, if you look at TJ Watt's stats, they're not fantastic. Tackles and sacks, and they're not great. He had a game, couple tackles, 1 sack.
Yeah, but if you watch the game,
exactly,
you see something different. And
he's in on every single play.
And we in the second quarter, and I'm going, is Patrick Queen out there? Fourth quarter, I said, man, they ain't called Patrick Queen's name one time. He is the middle linebacker. And it turns out I missed him call his name twice.
That is the difference.
Dude had 2 tackles. That's the difference. I'm like, I see
gotta
TJ.
Be out there.
I see TJ. I see Minka. I see Joey. I see Elliott Jackson. I see Peyton Wilson. Had a good game. Landon Roberts played well. But Queen, it was his first game with the Steelers too, with all the hype. I get it. But now this week, you got to go ahead and put up.
All right, we got a couple minutes here before we get to our predictions for this game. I want to ask you if Russ has any kind of health in that calf. Is he playing this game to get his revenge game, or is that just not who Russ is?
Oh, no, you know that's who Russ is.
That's what I'm hoping who Russ is.
You know that's who Russ is. And if he's healthy, he's going to start. And see, that just – but then what are we doing with the offense? You're definitely not going to see the RPOs because his calf is messed up. But what you will see is a long ball. They're going to throw it deep, but then you're throwing at Patrick Surtain, or you're throwing who was amazing, or you're throwing to the other side. I don't know who the other corner is, but hopefully we can get Roman Wilson back, and that gives us another speedster, to go on the other side. Then we got Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin working that slot. We can hit our tight ends. If Russell plays, Freiermuth will have a big game. Because he loves, that because that calf, he's not going to run, so he's going to be dumping that ball off. So look for the tight end and the running backs to do their thing in the short passing game. If Russ plays, but I don't think he's going to play.
No, neither do I. I think he's going to be sitting. Justin played well enough; they don't have to rush Russ back, especially for this game. There's no need.
As long as you're winning, you don't have to rush him back. The issue is, as long as you're winning. How many weeks is that before when he is healthy, you go, no, we're not going to mess anything up. We're just going to keep it the way it is and ride out with Justin. I think that's only 2 to 3 more weeks. If they win this week and they win their home opener against the Chargers and Russell Wilson still isn't playing, I don't think Russell Wilson is going to come back. You're 3-0. What you messing with it for? I know injury should not cost you your starting spot, but when it's like – Tom will tell you the Steelers in the business of winning.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you're only getting – it's not Deshaun Watson salary. When you're only getting paid $1 million, you can sit down.
Dude, Chris Boswell makes more than both quarterbacks combined.
Well, right now he deserves it. Give me
And
your prediction. Right now, give me your prediction for this game, Lou.
This one is rough, dude. I mean, obviously, I think the Steelers are going to win. They are the better team. Sean Payton is a great coach. He really is. I think he's a little too full of himself. But nonetheless, you got to have that arrogance and attitude to be a head coach in the NFL. Excuse me. But I see Pittsburgh actually plugging in about 2 touchdowns, maybe 2 field goals. I'll say 23-9. I just don't see Denver having the ability to move the ball as much. I know they scored, 20 last week? Well, 4 of those was on safety, so that take them to 16. I think Pittsburgh's defense is better than Seattle's, albeit we're on the road. But 23-9 Steelers.
All right, I will. I'll put it probably right around 20 to 9. 20. Yeah, I like that. 20 to 9. I don't see Denver getting in the end zone, and quite frankly, I've said this before on the show. I am a huge Justin Fields fan. Nobody wants that dude to succeed more than his family, other than me. Like, I am there. That being said,
I'm family. Yeah, I'm
exactly
family with him. So
exactly. So until Justin though shows me he can do more than 156 yards passing and 50 yards or more rushing, that's the game I expect from him. I don't expect fireworks,
but think
I just
about
don't see it.
One or two quarterbacks threw for more than 275 yards last week in the entire league. He wasn't the only one.
Look, man, we both can't be homers. We just can't be. For Homer Simpson, I'm Corey Idle. I almost called myself Lou Willard. See? That's because I sound like a reasonable football fan right now, and you're wilding out. Everybody else sucks. Justin Fields needs to prove it. He just needs to prove it. That's all I'm saying. That being said, though, if you're a fantasy fan, sit your Broncos, start your Steelers. You should have a good week. For Lou Willard, I'm Corey Idle. This is 6 Rings and Counting. Have a good one, guys.